Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Savavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham. Om. Okay. This duality consisting of the subject and the object is nothing but an apparent motion of consciousness. So we have added that. We say that this duality in which the subject jiva appears to experience and know the Jagata, Nitya world, is nothing but an apparent dynamic projection, because it's a projection of the gunas that somehow they are moving exactly like the stick, the alit stick, incense stick, as we move it, and it creates patterns. Now, but it's not consciousness. Consciousness allows Maya to do whatsoever it wants, but it's just the power of Maya. Consciousness is free from all those dynamic movements of the gunas upon itself, and therefore it's said that consciousness, turiya, is relationless or free and independent from whatsoever is projected upon itself. The seeming motion of consciousness caused by the rise and fall of thoughts, seen from the standpoint of the Jiva-Atma, there is this world that comes together with the thoughts of the world. We thought that the world and the objects of the world and the thoughts, they are just one and they are just hand in hand, with one another. And then the motion of the thoughts brings about the motion of the mental world, which exists in association with the physical objects of the world. So both the mind and the world are just a byproduct of Maya. So we know all of that. In the initial stage of Vedanta, we talk about Atma and Atma Viveka, so the discrimination between the subject and the object. In the Drigdrishan, we do the same. We say that the subject is different from the object. We call them Atma and Anatima from another, using other terms. Anatima is anything that can be seen. Therefore, it's not the ultimate seer, it is Drishan, not Drik. Consciousness is the only seer, although consciousness without the instruments of perception of its Jivatmas cannot really witness the apparent world. The world is observed fundamentally by consciousness plus the jivas produced by the power of Maya. So we know, and the Gaudapada says that the seer, the conscious observing, witnessing non-experienced entity is totally free from the world and the mind. The mind must be seen as an atma as well in its substantial energy level. So the goal is to observe everything that can be seen, objectified as an atma, and hold on to atma as the true nature of the atma, of the jiva entity observing Mithya world. The observer status is valid only as long as the observed world is accepted. It's exactly like the status of a teacher that can be called a teacher only if it has students. The father is a father if there are children, and so on. Okay, so I think we came to this point, no? So, and then he says something at the end that say the concept of sentience, reflect consciousness or sentience, can be appreciated only when there is insentience present. So everything is relative. So everything here is projection defined by its opposites. Now, all pair of opposites are there. If we talk about sentience, and then it only stands if there is insentient beings or objects. Even the words Sat, Chit, Ananda, they relate to this world that exists, the jivas that are conscious of the world, and it's said to be of non-dual nature. Everything is relative. The point here is that consciousness not having any relationship, no relations, no parents, no father, no mother, nothing has caused that. And it's not really causing children as, oh no, I have association with my children. No, consciousness does not have any children. There is no any relations that could be associated to consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is said to be a sangha. And Satchitananda stands only once we associate it to its opposites, consciousness from unconsciousness, existence from non-existence, and limitlessness from limitation. So the truth is we cannot use any word to describe what we are, but yet, for the sake of communication of this teachings, this revealed knowledge, we need to give some names. First, the existence of an Atma is accepted, and therefore relationship between Atma and Anatma is taking place. And then we talked about, and then if there is Atma, the only reality, and the world Anatma, and then we accept that there is a relationship, and then we come into the realm of causality. So Atma is causing Anatma. But as we know, Atma was never caused by anything and does not cause anything, just like a person. There is no person who was not caused by the father, but there are persons that does not want to cause children, But in case of Turiya, so it was not caused and it will never cause anything else. This relationship cannot be talked about because Anatma is just an apparent superimposition upon Atma. Again, we are talking about two names, two principles. But fundamentally, if we go too deep in this conversation, then we say we have to stop studying Vedanta because Vedanta is bringing a concept to explain that which is impossible to be described by concepts. But we know that silence does not do the job either, So we need to use certain concepts to somehow cancel wrong notions, wrong concepts, and then apavad, and then in the end we throw away everything, and then we okay. But then if you want to share this knowledge, liberating knowledge with the others, you're going to use the concepts because we need to communicate it somehow. The fact is, Anatma, the world does not exist apart from Atma. It does not have existence of its own. It enjoys a landed or borrowed existence coming from its substratum, adstanam, which is consciousness on which the Anatma world is reflected. The example of clay and clay pot is relevant. It's relevant here. First, we talk about clay, and then we talk about clay pot. So we have looked into that from different angles, including the clay and the object made out of clay. There is no relationship between clay and the objects. We cannot say that the pot made out of clay is different from clay or separate from the clay. Is one and the same, just the Namarupa is different. There is only one which is clay. There is only one which is consciousness. Namarupas can be formed from one and single principle, but fundamentally the only reality is that principle, that adhisthana, that Atma, the self, consciousness. These two words are useful only for transaction. Which kind of transaction? So we here the example is the clay. Let's say that so when I go to buy an object of clay, I ask, so is it made out of clay? Yes. So, and then give me some clay. And then the person looks at me and says, but what do you mean? You want the spoon, you want the pot, you want the cup? Yeah. No, I just want the clay. No, for transaction, we better accept the Namarupas, and we use the Namarupa as if it was different from clay. But we have to remember there is no Karya-Karana relationship. Therefore, Brahman is neither Karanan or Kariyan. In Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, a very famous mantra is quoted. And he quotes it in Sanskrit. It says that Turiya is neither cause nor effect because Karya-Karana relationship requires duality and there is none. Where is that Turiya? Do not look up, don't look down or to the sides, onward, outwards. Do not even look inwardly, because a lot of there is this language, you have to go in, go inside, look inwardly. So you cannot even look inwardly, to find the true nature of the Jivatma. So where is this Atma? It's nowhere and everywhere. Everywhere as the substratum, and nowhere as an object of knowledge or experience. Right? When I claim that I am the Turiya, the word I means consciousness. When I claim this life is a play, when I claim this life is a play, and then when I claim that I am Turiya, the word I means consciousness. When I claim this life is a play. When I claim, that I am this Turiya, I am this consciousness, and then life is not a big drama, a big deal. No, it's more like a play, and a play here, a play is a play, but I don't want to be part of the play. I want to be the witnessing, the spectator, not involved with the play. Huh? This is a dramatic play, of Maya. And it's not enough to know that it's a play, but I don't want to be a part of this play. I want to watch the play as I do watching Hollywood production. If I don't claim this life is painful, meaningless, burdensome, it's a boring struggle. So we need to be very careful with our choice. The following verse, this duality, 7.3, this duality which exists from the apparent empirical view does not really exist. It exists from the empirical view of the other systems. It does not really exist. So now he's going back to mention that some more fundamental and apparent and clear distinctions between the Upanishads view and these other visions. of other systems. He said, Gaudapada clarifies that you can use the theory of Maya Jativada, that the cause of the universe is Maya, and then there is a cause and effect relationship, okay? And it can use Ajativada. It means to say that theory that there is no really creation, okay? So there is a theory that Maya projects a certain reality, and then there is a theory that says there is no projection because all there is consciousness. So different terminologies which go to seemingly born or really not born, not there. So it's apparently by the power of mind born, or it's not born at all. And then there is the theory of karma, that karma Jativada, that the word is originated by karma, which is also later on we reject as well as we grow into the deeper waters of Vedanta. That which is accepted as existent, seemingly for the sake of Vyavahara, is samvrit, meaning worldly transactions. This is the Buddhist terminology that Gaudapada has borrowed. You know, Vyavahara is samvriti, is the world. The words that are used for worldly transactions like sunrise and blue sky do not refer to anything real. Even night, day, names of places are transactional tools or words. Therefore, use the empirical terminology, but do not be trapped by the words attributing real reality to all of these things. The entire cosmos is just a name for a transaction purpose, but does not really exist. But it is accepted as existent by two groups of other schools of thoughts. And then here's what I'm saying something that I could never understand why he brings up Vedanta as a philosophy here and there. You understand? He says, there are some other groups, as the verse 73 points out, that other systems that attribute reality to this material world because they are available for experience. No? And then he says, like, there are groups, and he presents two groups of people who makes this mistake. And then he says, these people, one group is the lay people. What does it mean of lay, Lynn?
It usually means not in a religious order, but I think it just means those people who accept Vyavaharika as real.
Yeah. Unwise people would be unintelligent. One group is the lay people who are not philosophers. They go by the experience, ETU, and they accept anything that contains ETU, experience, transaction, and utility. So they are moved by perception and inference. And these people, they don't like philosophies. They don't like our philosophy. He says they are not philosophers. No? So I went back again and again to look into definition of what is a philosophy. And there are all kinds of definitions there. But we know that all these other systems are often referred to Sankhya philosophy, yoga philosophy, and this and that philosophy. They are philosophies, okay? It is somehow a structure of concepts that creates a school or a theory in regards to the creation of the world. Yeah? So he presents several, and they say that they are confused. They are very confused people, groups, you know. They make a mistake of accept the world as existence just because it contains ETU. They are not philosophers. I hate this concept of Vedanta as a philosophy, but I think within the context of the Vedic culture, it serves a purpose because I don't know that context. I don't know really why Swamiji presents it as a philosophy. Because here and there he says it's not a philosophy. If it's only a philosophy, it's not going to transform you. Vedanta, at the bottom of it all, is just a science. I like the concept of a science of consciousness or science of a reality. It's not an exact objective science, but even psychology is not an exact objective science, but is accepted nowadays as a science. You know? And the laws of the creator includes also the psychological laws. From the standpoint of Advaita Vedanta, the world has appearance only and no true existence. Gaudapada points out that the entire world of the experience is accepted as existing because it's available for transaction. Empirical transactions are available, experience, transaction, etc., etc. Based on the availability, based on this availability, we make the conclusion that the world is existent. The aim of Vedantic inquiry is to determine whether this conclusion is right or not. When an inquiry is made, it's found that every object is nothing but Namarupa. And then because he is a curious, he likes to dive into the latest discoveries of science. And then he presents this sentence here. So philosophically, we can understand the concepts of Namarupa, but scientifically, we can use the help of science to know that what appears to be an object can be reduced to fundamental particles, and further, deeper analysis does not reveal not even a particle, does not reveal anything substantial. In other words, the things are not what they seem to be. That's why people in the spiritual world are fascinated by quantum physics, as if they could get down to the bottom of reality. You know, the reality is in the consciousness of the explorer, consciousness of the scientist, consciousness of the investigator. And they are looking out, and then they see there is nothing substantial. Matter is not matter. So what the heck is this one? So it's just a reflection upon you, consciousness, the only reality. Therefore, this reflection gets the status of meteor. It's not really there. But without Vedanta, without Upanishads, people and other schools come to the conclusion that there is reality in the world. There is something truly real to the world, which is unfortunate. Gaudapada points out that this mistake is made not only by lay people, but in the vision of many systems. The same mistake is made after they go through a lot of inquiry, a lot of philosophical discussions. They come to the conclusion that the world is real. The world is existent from the standpoint of the ignorant and the confused philosophers. You say now he's calling them philosophers as well, but they are confused. So the world is seen as real from the standpoint of confused philosophers, but inquiry based on Shastra, Pramana, will reduce the entire world into Namarupa. If everything is Namarupa, what is then the substance? What is the substance? Vedanta says that the substance will never be found by any amount of inquiry, rather except by the Upanishadic inquiry. But objectively, probing both of them at the micro and macro level, they are namarupas. But you can never see the substratum or the adhistanam sustaining those namarupas. Therefore, scientific exploration will never do it. Mathematics will not do it either. Gaudapada says that this is so because that ultimate true essence or substance or principle is the true nature, the Atma of the inquirer. It's the self of the inquirer. I am the only reality. Once this fundamental essence, intrinsic nature of the Atma of the inquirer is Atma, then Atma can be used as the base upon what Namarupas are project. So the screen, you know? The sense of the Atma cannot be given a name, but the Namarupas project upon the Atma, the screen of consciousness, get names. Oh, Mark just apologized, saying that his Zoom was not working and he missed the class. So no name for Atma is possible. If no name is used for the Atma, so how are we going to teach the Atma? So if the moment we give a name to something, immediately we project that thing as a nama, and a nama, immediately we project a rupa upon the nama. You understand? We see as something perceived or conceptualized, you know, other than ourselves. The truth is, no name for the self is possible, no name for the Atma is possible. But if no name is used, how can the Guru teach? Words have to be used for communication. Without words, without the words pointing to the Rupa or to the Nama, the Nama is there, but it should point to the very, very nature of the student. There is a word is used for description of the Atma, but later on is withdrawn. It's like using a thorn to remove a thorn and later throwing away the thorn. So words are used in the teaching and later withdrawn. This is the message that Gaudapada is trying to convey. Only from the standpoint of other visions, the word is a substance, but our Vedantic vision says that the world is just a projection of Namarupas. Anything from you?
This is really, I mean, it is beyond words. It is beyond words, indescribable. Yeah, appreciate these verses very much because they just wipe everything away.
Yeah, it helps to further develop this vision of non-duality and to bring us to understand that I am the only reality, I consciousness, of course, I Turiya. Everything is happening such as a reflection upon my consciousness, or non-dual consciousness, through the mind, the individual mind, which is fundamentally known as to be consciousness. Okay, in fact, consciousness is not even born, as we know. It's said to be unborn in accordance to the apparent empirical view of things that get born and die. So again, when we say that consciousness is unborn, it is unborn in contradiction, in opposition to the things that are born. when we say that consciousness is eternal, is in opposition of the object, meter objects, which are bound by mortality, bound by time. So everything stands against its opposite. So it said, unborn in accordance to the apparent empirical view of the world in which everything is born and dies. It is said to be born in accordance with the empirical view arising out of these systems that somehow came to the mistaken conclusion that the world is real and it was born at a certain beginning of time. The entire world is non-substantial. Again, this word is a word that it has no substance to itself. So I don't know, but my English is not that profound, much less in terms of understanding the Indian language from the standpoint of a sampradaya, but they use this expression substantial. So I have a little bit trouble to use this word because I prefer to use that the entire world is not real. You understand? It does not really contain reality, but it enjoys a borrowed reality. And then it says it's no substantial. It's only namarupa. So it means to say there is nothing to it. It's just smoke. It's just a shadow. It's just, something like that. The word is not substantial. It gives us the impression that maybe the true substantial is consciousness, and sometimes it's present that way, the true substance. But consciousness, to use the word substance, well, your English is far much superior than mine. Why do you think, Lynn, I've used the word consciousness as the only source of substance? Could it be confusing?
It could be only because there is no substance. So the firebrand example is what I'm thinking when I see non-substantial. So the tip of the alanta is there, but the pattern does not exist. I think you're understanding.
I understand. Yeah, I understand. I have trouble to use this word in my expositions.
Right.
Because
yeah.
according to my language understanding, substance could cause certain
Material.
Yeah, material. Yeah, substance it goes for material. Exactly. So the entire world is it has no true substance to itself. It's only namarupas. For the same reason, Atma cannot be given a name because otherwise Anatma will fall into the realm of namarupa. The moment we give a name, immediately we imagine something other than ourselves, even if it's just a conceptual object, but it's still an object that it's not that it has a form, a rupa, but it has certain qualities and attributes that you project. And then the scriptures come back and say, no, the self is free of any possible attribute. So it's when we talk about the Atma, we fall to the misleading conclusion that it exists within the realm of nama, rupa attributes. When a name is used, the mind will form a certain concept. There we go, concept, okay? Attributes, what is this? So, it is something that has certain attributes or natures that points to limitlessness, fullness, and consciousness. But really speaking, Atma, the self, does not have a name, cannot have, we have to use a name, but what are names? Names are just descriptions of the mithya projection of namarupas, of objects that somehow we look at objects, by consensus, cultural consensus, we give name according to its attributes and shapes. A dog is a dog, a cat is a cat. No? So we need to have this for the sake of communication. But the whole world is Namarupa, and it's a process of continuous change. Everything in our experience has a beginning and an end. Based on this, most philosophers think that Atma is all subject to change like worldly things. So a descriptions used for Atma based on the misconception that it is changeful. Based on these philosophies, they think that Atma is as real as the object. Therefore, Atma was born, Atma will die, which means to say that Atma is subject to change. So their description is used based on a misconception that the Atma as well is a changing phenomenon. That description that the Atma, but our description is that Atma is changeless. This does not mean that Atma is a substance that has the attribute of changelessness. So you see, when you describe those final descriptions of features regarding to real consciousness, they are not really attributes. So to try to minimize this conflict or this contradiction, I often say, oh, anything that we say about consciousness is not attributes, it's just consciousness nature. Okay, so, and then we get away with it. It's just consciousness nature. You know, it's a karta, it's a bhokta, it's a nirvikara. It is everything that cannot be seen, but it's the seeing principle. The description is that the Atma is changeless. In some other system, consciousness is said to have been originated. In Yogacara Buddhism, consciousness is born during the waking state and remains alive, living through the waking state, and during the sleep state, consciousness dies. Is the consciousness that appears with the world and disappears with the world, appears with the world, disappears with the world. Which reminds me of a certain it's not really a teaching, but explanation given by James, yeah, to describe karma. He used to say the karma is better described not as a cycle of birth, life, old age, and death, and rebirth, but it is something in regard to the thoughts that come into your mind and then they die, come and go. This is the cycle of appearance and disappearance. You know? So if consciousness is born during the awake state and it dies in this sleeping state, means to say, so you need a thought of anything of the object rather in the either on the awakened state or other dream states to experience consciousness. Yeah? So it gives us the impression that somehow consciousness may be appearing and disappearing. No, this is the mind that appears and disappears, not consciousness. No? And by the way, it's the mind that gets birth, old age, death, and rebirth. Consciousness, as we know from the teachings of James as well, is not subject to time, to birth and death. So according to this kind of school, Atma is inert. It's just like matter. Why? Because anything that appears and disappears can only be matter and energy made up by the gunas of Maya. You say Atma, according to them, may be just matter, just energy. The mind is also inert then, inert matter. And then he says, no, that the mind is also matter, subtle matter in the awakened state, and the mind combined result in the birth of consciousness. In sleep, the contact between Atma and the mind is disrupted and consciousness is lost. To counter this contention, Vedanta describes Atma as unborn, changeless, without attributes. These are descriptors used for communication. They are not attributes of Atma. So he's saying that there are different schools. Some schools believe that consciousness appears and disappears with the world. And then he says, in Vedanta, we say that consciousness, there is no birth or origination of consciousness, is the eternal principle. Even the word eternal is problematic. So it's just the principle. And without unborn principle, beginningless principle. In sleep, the contact of this consciousness is disrupted and consciousness is lost. To counter this contention, Vedanta describes Atma as unborn and changeless, eternal, without attribute. These are descriptions used for communication. They are not really the attributes of the self. So we use words to point to something that is the very consciousness of the jiva, saying these words or listening to these words. So it's point to us all the time. That's why we say Vedanta is only about you, consciousness. Don't think that it's about Vedanta itself. We use words and gives us impression that we're talking about something other than ourselves. And then when we say so many words, there are so many Brahma Sutras, which are further discussions on the Upanishads. So they are very vast in volume. And all of that is only to try to use words to point to consciousness. And Swami is saying, just keep in mind that those words are just devices or tools to point to you, because no word can describe you. Words can describe objects of knowledge. Words can never describe the knower. But the moment we use words, the student immediately start thinking that it's in reference to something other than myself. The moment that we use a word for sake of communication, the student starts unconsciously, subconsciously believing that those words describe something that I need to know objectively.
Arlindo, so when we say claiming our identity as Atma, Aham Brahmasmi, there really is no such thing as an identity, is there? I mean, because that assumes association with attributes.
Yeah, totally. Totally. From the standpoint of consciousness, that means nothing. From the standpoint of the Mitya Jiva Atma, because who says that? It's not consciousness, it's the Jiva Atma, the Atma of the Jiva. So the Jiva, this body, mind, sense complex, feels the effects of time, space, attribution, limitations. Everybody knows that my complex, body, mind complex, body, mind, sense complex is limited, and limited by the few attributes, limited by the space, limited by time. So this knowledge serves, it's designed to free the Jivatma from these wrong, mistaken notions in regards to its true fundamental nature. So the Atma of the Jivatma is free, independent, limitless, infinite consciousness. So the Jiva-Atma, who is an identity, is the one who is going to take benefit from saying Aham Brahmasmi, because he is still remaining as an identity, not as an experiencing entity which defines itself as Aham, limitless consciousness as me, rather than Aham, body as me. You understand? So this definition does not really have anything to do with the Atma, but the Jiva Atma, once the Jiva Atma understood that my fundamental nature is Atma, and I, as the Jiva Atma, the experiencing knowing entity, I need to redefine myself rather than Aham, body as me, I am Aham, infinite, limitless consciousness is my true nature. So it has validity for the Jiva-Atma to know by the use of words, use of concepts, that I am limitless infinite consciousness, not subject to time, mortality, and the limitations of my attributes. Understood? Anything else? This is a good inquiry.
So the entire Upadhi, macro and micro, dissolves. Everything that allows an attribute dissolves.
Of course, the attributes, Lynn, they are configurations, okay, due to the gunas, okay? So Maya projects the three energies, and from the energies, the fundamental elements, subtle elements, and then all the other elements come into place. And then we have these nama-rupas that seems to be tangible and available for experience and real. And the entire world is just a superimposition of Maya. So you are saying that everything disappears. Yes and no. It disappears as reality. Okay. So the whole thing is to, when we see the five fundamentals of Vedanta, is if I forget my true nature, I suffer. If I remember, I'm free. You understand? Life is a pleasure, is a easy sailing or whatever. If I forget, it becomes a burden. Yeah? So all of that, the benefit of this is for the Jiva-Atma, for as long as it still has a physical body. The physical body somehow imposes this cosmic ignorance, which is Aham, body as me. So what are the attributions, the attributes of my limitless nature as consciousness? It's attributeless, but I need to hold on to something. And then you're gonna, as a Jiva-Atma living, yeah, we see in the realm of name, forms, and attributes and concepts. So you need a better concept to define yourself more in harmony with your nature. You understand? Nature of consciousness, the best way to describe the nature of consciousness is one without a second. So it's the only thing that exists without a second thing. But when you say that to people, it does not sound very appealing. You understand? It does not sound very appealing. And then we're going to use what? We're going to use some concepts that are more appealing, more attractive. The jiva feels itself to be limited in every sense, and feels itself to be finite, feels itself to be, not good enough, because I don't have all the attributes I would like to have. I would like to be a genius, and so on. So, and then the scriptures are going to say, yeah, the only reality is consciousness, non-dual consciousness. And then people scratch their head and say, I mean, it does not sound like so attractive to the point that I have to put up so much effort to acknowledge that I am one without a second. In truth, most seeker feels scared about this concept that I am one without a second, because if I'm gonna feel lonely, like, you know. So, and then we're gonna use those opposite concepts, pair of opposites. If the Jiva Atma experience a sense of limitation, we say, but you are limitless. You are infinite, you are not finite. Yeah. You are Ananda. Instead of say you are non-dual or one without a second, we use a more attractive word, which is Ananda. You know, Ananda. It's better to say you are limitless than to say you are one without a second. But even more to the point is to say you are Ananta or Ananda, you know, which is, it means to say limitless, but has a connotation of peace or satisfaction, you know. These are just words. We, for as long as we have a Namarupa and we are transacting this world, we use words to describe the world around us, our interpretations and understandings of the things around us. But the first definition is about I, the instrument of knowledge experience, and I am mistaken describing myself as matter energy. I need to correct the description about myself and understand that my nature is conscious existence of non-dual nature, limitless nature. For the standpoint of these teachings, Atma is temporarily called as unborn. He said worldly transactions. Okay, but even from the standpoint of these teachings, we call Atma as the unborn principle. But from the standpoint of Brahman, from the standpoint of the Atma, the self, you know, we cannot say that it is unborn, because unborn stands only against its opposite, which is born. Anything born will die, and so on. So that's why we find some schools in which they say, like, there's nothing you can say, you know, the only thing you can say is you do not exist. You see how these philosophies and theories come into place. If you scrutinize the teachings of the Upanishads without understanding the teachings of Satya Mithya, okay? You take only the teaching in regards to Satya, and then you come to these conclusions that I don't exist. The only reality is nothingness, emptiness. But that is wrong as well. Even to say, no, it's fullness, wholeness is still is not true to what we are. But it's only to neutralize the sense that you are just a nothingness. Now, Vedanta comes and say, no, you are not nothing. You are full, whole, and complete consciousness, because there is only consciousness, the only reality, all pervasive conscious existence. And so they are all concepts that somehow are present to us as a means to remove this psychological suffering, this element of suffering from the human experience, so that ignorance, self-ignorance can be removed and one graduates not to have to come back. So, oh no, but I'd like to come back. And then you're gonna come back. All descriptions of the Atma is still a more Mithya Nama Rupa. Here he says, you understand? But you use a good, better, description, more in harmony with your nature, although you're using words Words exist within duality, with media duality. Every word stands against its opposite. So you are using words which are dualistic by nature to describe your non-dual nature. How are you going to do that? And you do it, Lena, until you come to a point that all these descriptions have to be given away. And then what happens is aparokshayanam, the immediate and direct knowledge. Aha. How? What is this knowledge? Aha. And then you go about talking to your students, say, aha. aha. Ah, you know, otherwise you just stay silent like Ramana stayed for most of his life. But the problem is the aham always needs. You see, before we define the idam and midam around us, the phenomenal world around us, we need to define ourselves. This aham, there are some schools that says you have to remain as aham, not define yourself, but it's impossible. Freedom can only be gained if you properly define yourself. You cannot live in there just as aham. The aham is going to define itself as matter and energy. And you need to redefine the aham as limitless consciousness, and then you can live free of all definitions about yourself. You think that the Yanni goes around remembering all the time, aham brahmasmi. No, acknowledge that which all is good. Once you got it, you don't need to remind yourself again and again. It needs to be there as a remembrance of one's true nature, you know. Remember your true nature and life is going to be easy, but you don't need to make an effort to remember. It becomes natural because knowledge is that which once digested, internalized, is available to protect us from this cosmic ignorance. The truth is that all descriptions of the Atma are mithya namarupas, nimittya descriptions. The truth is that there are no descriptions for the Atma. Also the description that Atma is unborn. Also the description that Atma is limitless. No? All the scriptures fall fundamentally, but it falls when? When the knowledge served its purpose and the person does not need to go around repeating these attributes or natures of the self as a means to redefine myself. Knowledge was understood, internalized. Okay, I understood. And then you can say, you can tell to your good friends or to your students, so Tatvamasi, you are that limitless consciousness. Well, hey, Ronaldo, welcome. Just for your information, so you are most welcome. And you remember Ronald, Lynn? He came a few times. It says it's connecting the audio. Ronaldo. Ronaldo. Okay, I don't know if he is listening. I'll send him a message later on. You are most welcome. And we are closing our class. Our classes, they go from 10 to 11 a.m. Okay, you just showed up to say hi, but we can't hear you. And I hope to see you soon again. Tomorrow we begin from verse 75. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Okay,
Thank you, Arlinda.
thank you. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.